Age them out. Nothing's changed. On MSN, I'll do my best to have the article in here. Get out. Black families harassed in their own homes. In Delano, Minnesota, a black family's home was broken into in March 2017, and a warning was spray painted on the walls. Get out. The vandals left a note, too. Next time, it's going to be fire. In Athens, Tennessee, the white mother of young biracial children alleged that she'd been harassed verbally by a neighbor for a year. For close to 2 years, ProPublica has been compiling reports of hate crimes and bias incidents as part of our documenting hate project. The database now houses a vast compendium 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 of ugliness. Let me look up that word. I don't think I've ever seen that word. Compendium. Let's see what that means real quick. A collection of concise but detailed information about a particular subject, especially in a book or other publication. It's a collection, compilation, anthology, treasury, digest. Okay, there we go. Just learned something, y'all. That's how I learn on the fly. Here we go. The database now houses a vast compendium of ugliness in America. Killings, assaults, threats of terror, they are all there. One of the more common entries involves people being harassed or threatened at their place of residence, often by neighbors, the people who live next door or down in the hall or around the corner. Of course, this isn't new. The integration of the U.S. has been as fraught as the integration of the country schools. Stay informed. Janine Bell, a lawyer and author of Hate Thy Neighbors, Move-In Violence and the Persistence of Racial Segregation in American Housing, said no corner of the country has any claim of immunity from the problem. She also noticed the total number of such residents is not reliably captured in any formal data set, ours or those kept by federal and local authorities. That's because she said many of these incidents go unreported. A lot of times the people that are targeted don't even know that it is a crime. Bell continued. The Documenting Hate database has close to 6,000 entries, a mix of new reports, tips, personal stories of bigotry, and reports collected by law enforcement and some anti-discrimination groups. Among the most common things are anti-Muslim acts, which accounted for 359 entries, and swastikas showing up in public schools, which were the subject of an additional 400 or so. More than 300 entries were reports of harassment or menacing at people's homes, targeting people at a variety of races and religion. The most frequent victims were African American. Indeed, African Americans are the most frequently victimized group nationally for hate crimes, according to the data from the FBI. The finding prompted us to send inquiries to dozens or so police jurisdictions that had reported the highest number of anti-black hate crimes to the FBI hate crime database from 2010 to 2016. Since we couldn't get incident reports from every one of those jurisdictions, we also made requests to several police departments where we received data that included anti-black hate crimes. In total, we were able to identify 639 incidents of anti-black violence or harassment that from police reports we received. More than a fifth of those reports, 138 involved people being targeted by neighbors or in their homes. In Columbus, Ohio, a man went to police because someone had been ringing his doorbell or banging on his garage 25 to 30 times a night, almost every night. When the man went outside, the suspect would call him racial slurs from the darkness. The man said his family are the only black residents of the cul-de-sac. No arrests were made, and the case is currently listed as inactive. In Toledo, at the north end of the state, a man was allegedly harassing 3 black neighbors in his neighborhood using unwarranted racist language, according to the police report. One day, the suspect saw a car with black occupants throw trash on the street. Even though they had no relation to anyone on the block, the suspect came over and dumped the trash on the black family's lawn, the report said. Since you all want to nigger up the neighborhood, I'll burn you and your nigger family out, he allegedly told the victim. Police went to the suspect's home, but he didn't answer the door. A call to the Toledo police to check on the case was not returned. In Kansas City, Missouri, an African American man went to the police because his neighbor harassed him for 3 years. The suspect allegedly stood in the driveway taking pictures of his home and waved a Confederate flag. The man who filed complaint wound up moving, but he told police he was worried because he had seen the man outside his new home. In Oxford Township, Michigan, a couple, a white woman and a black man, went to police because they said that they couldn't leave the house without getting harassed by their neighbor, who called them slurs. When the police gave the neighbor a citation for disorderly conduct, she ripped it up in front of the officer. So it's a woman in this case. She was subsequently arrested for disorderly conduct, and her case was turned over to the local prosecutor's office. She went hard as fuck. I don't care what nobody says. And in Spokane, Washington, we got records on 2 cases of possible neo-Nazi harassing their black neighbors. In one case, the neighbors reported that a man with the swastika on his head called them racial slurs. He allegedly threw a brick at a woman, calling her a slur. Why this dude didn't whoop his ass, I don't know. In another case, a black man said his white supremacist neighbor and another man assaulted him in the garage while using racial slurs and threatened him with a gun. Nigger, you don't deserve to be breathing white man's air, they allegedly said. Later, the white supremacist allegedly returned with 2 other men and yelled, Hail the KKK and white power at the man shortly before shooting a gun at his home from a car. The victim told the Spokane Review that one of the suspects called him racial slurs for months leading up to the shooting. These niggas are cowards, cuz it won't happen to me. This kind of shit don't happen to me. So once again, if you're so afraid to stand up for yourself against a white person, you deserve what you get. According to the Spokane Police Department, both cases resulted in arrests, and suspects were charged with first-degree assault and malicious harassment. Malicious harassment should be fucking attempted murder, whatever. In the shooting case, suspect Donald Pritchard's criminal history records show a total of 16 felony convictions, which include beating and sexually assaulting a woman. Wow. Who knows if that was a black woman? He's awaiting trial on January 22, the second. That's not in the article. I'm just elaborating. He's awaiting trial on January 22nd. The second suspect in the case, Jason Cooper, has 12 felony convictions, including unlawful possession of a weapon and a burglary. He is awaiting trial on February 25th. Many accounts in both our database and that resulted from our queries to police departments include frustration at what can seem like a lack of police interest or action. In that case, the family targeted in Delano, no one was ever arrested, and the family wound up moving away. The mothers in Athens said that they told her there was little that they could do about verbal harassment, that it was a civil matter. The authorities in Athens didn't return for a request for comment that said, we didn't find examples where the authorities ultimately took steps. In Grapevine, Texas, Dante Perry was harassed by his white neighbor, Glenn Halfin, for over a year after he moved in. The harassment became so persistent that he installed surveillance cameras outside his home, and a police officer was stationed outside for over a month. Wow. The breaking point occurred when his neighbor left black baby dolls with nooses around their necks hung outside the apartment. Ultimately, Halfin was charged with a hate crime and convicted for violating the family's housing rights. He was sentenced to a year in state prison, the maximum punishment based on his guilty plea to the misdemeanor charge. Misdemeanor should have been a federal fucking hate crime anyway. No one should be afraid to go to his home at night, said U.S. Attorney Aaron Neely Cox. And I would have blasted that dude I would have blasted that dude in his head. It would need even taken that. Once again, cowards. Victims of such harassment at their residence, it turns out, have an option other than going to the local police. Yeah, you smash these motherfuckers to pieces. But they say harassing one neighbor also violates the federal Fair Housing Act, which makes it illegal for landlords and neighbors to interfere with someone's right to housing based on who they are. And there is an office at the Department of Housing and Urban Development which meant to handle such cases. Victims can file a complaint with HUD within a year of the alleged violation. Owners, managers, and condominium associations may be liable for neighbor-on-neighbor harassment if they fail to intervene when they have the duty to do so. Criminal penalties can include fines and prison. According to HUD statistics, there were 8,348 complaints of such violations in 2015, 8,350 in 2016, and 8,186 in 2017. Half or more of those cases dealt with alleged violations of people with disabilities. The HUD stats show that historically very few of these complaints of any kind wind up with federal prosecutions. The number of prosecutions has gotten appreciably smaller in recent years. In 2015, the Department of Justice closed 84 cases brought to it by HUD regarding the Fair Housing Act. In 2016, there were only 12. So, right, in 1 year, it literally reduced itself by what is that, 6/7? Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. 6/7 of it of efficiency in a matter of just 1 year. 2017, there were 5 calls for commute with HUD were not returned because of the federal government shutdown. Understand we're in another shutdown right now, so guess what that means. Meanwhile, his second year of documenting hate came to a close. Reportings kept coming in. In June 2018, Hubert Roberts of Clio, Michigan, police complained to police that his truck had been targeted by racists. A Nazi symbol was spray painted on his truck, along with slurs and boast of white pride. The Genesee County sheriffs would not comment on the case, other than to say no arrests have been made. When asked about the current status of the case, the FBI told ProPublica, adhering to the DOJ policy, the FBI neither confirms nor denies investigations. Roberts said that this wasn't the first time he was targeted in the community because of his race either. He noted that other instances of being called racist comments where he was told to go back to Africa while doing work in his yard. This could have been an opportunity for some dialogue in the predominantly white community. Roberts said, I just feel really disappointed with our justice system. It's not justice, first off, so there's nothing to be disappointed in. Second off, I know this is a long-winded age air out, but I had to read the entire thing to you. This was important. This was very important. I just need you guys to understand that nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. The same coward blacks who were afraid to stand up for themselves. It's not just during slavery. There's a level of self-preservation, I understand, but there's a level where it turns into cowardice. You know, you can't let somebody strip you of your manhood. You know, are you going to live, as a man, are you going to live without your manhood? And as a woman, are you going to live without your womanhood? So when they strip you of your man and your womanhood, but notice that most of the victims here are black men. I mean, almost every one of them that I read to you about was a black man. The only time it was different was the white women who have black children and the black dude who got the white girlfriend, but they're all black men. Understand me, okay? To what degree of black, I can't discern that. There's no pictures here. But the fact of the matter is this, y'all. And I'm closing out on this. There will be no federal cases, like I said on my other channel. Not for a little while. Not for anything that's not super serious. So the hate crimes are about to go up. Be on the lookout.